Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. We are back in person. That's Austin, and I'm Blake. And Austin, we are celebrating a Tennessee Volunteer victory over the Alabama Crimson Tide on the third Saturday in October. What an incredible rivalry! What an incredible game! We got a dub, and you want to celebrate on the third Saturday in October.
It really was a good game. I mean, if you're just a college football fan, you loved this game. First half 7-0 Alabama. We'll kind of get into that a little bit, but I mean, in the second half in particular, dude. It was just back and forth. It was back and forth. It really felt like a heavyweight title fight in the second half. But yeah, dude, incredible win. I mean, it completely changes the outlook on the season. Playoffs are back on the table. They are back on the table. And, dude, I mean, at this point, it's like, just win the games you're supposed to win. It's back to that. If you win the games you're supposed to win, you're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the difference is the games you're supposed to win now are Mississippi State at home, Kentucky at home, which, dude, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Wildcats. They ain't doing so well.
Yeah.
UTEP, the Miners at home, and then Vandy on the road, which, maybe we'll see.
Vandy cracked the top 25.
They did.
Vandy is officially ranked in the
top 25. But, I mean,
25.
it just, dude, this win is massive. It's just a massive win. Incredible win. I mean, it was like one of the best games I've seen all year. And, dude, I just thought the team as a whole showed a lot of resiliency, man. The quarterback in particular getting knocked out of the game, coming back in, and he just played his best football probably of the season once he got knocked out of the game, outside of the interception. We'll talk about that later. But, I mean, it was a lot of resiliency from this team, dude. A lot. Like I said, going back to the second half, dude, every time Bama would answer, we would answer right back. Every single time. I was, amazed. Because it was really, right when the offense started to cook.
Yeah.
The defense was starting to give up some yardage. I mean, overall, the defense is incredible. But, dude, every time Bama would go down and score, we'd hit them right back. And I was just like, wow. And, dude, so I was at the game. I'll get into that, too.
Yeah, Austin was lucky enough to attend his first ever Tennessee-Alabama game in person.
So, how I got the ticket, I got the ticket on Friday. Okay, Friday night. Okay, I did not think I was going to this game. There was a ticket on Ticketmaster for $320, and I missed it. And I was like, okay, I'm probably not going. I'm not going to pay $450. But then Callie's friend told me of a person on Facebook selling a single ticket. I hit the guy up. A lot of people were commenting and stuff for this ticket. Hit the guy up. He said it was $300. Nobody had paid. Nobody claimed it. I was like, dude, of course I'm taking it for $300. Worked out. Went to the game. Sat with Callie in the student section, dude. It was an amazing experience.
Callie being his wife.
But going back to my point, what I was getting at is at halftime, dude, I just felt like, because Heupel had been saying the offense was close, and I kind of had some skepticism with that, but just watching the game, how many throws, whenever Nico or a receiver would be wide open, Nico would miss him. Or whenever Nico would hit him, they would drop it. And the offense really did feel close. I was watching the first half, man. I was like, dude, we're moving the ball on this team. I mean, there's really no reason we shouldn't be scoring points. And then I told Kyle, I was like, I really feel like I'm Mr. Pessimistic Vol fan, dude. Most of the time. I'm not all the time optimistic, but I told Kyle at halftime, I was like, it feels like the offense is about to break out.
Yeah.
And they eventually did, dude. So
yeah, they finally found that other gear that we were talking about, and it seems like, I was thinking recently with Nico missing these deep throws, kind of like Milton does. I wonder if there's a difference. Obviously, there's a difference between practice and game time, right? But then this competition that we had been playing just weren't as fast as our receivers, right? Or weren't as physical, right? And so I wonder if Nico's timing is off because now we're playing physical teams and our receivers aren't able to get down the field as quickly as he's used to them getting down the field, Mm-hmm. And so I hope that more, and that's just that's real high level conjecture, right? But yeah, the second half, Nico there's still improvements to be made, right? But he played better.
Oh, he played a lot better.
Played better, and we're hitting some throws, and we're able to move the ball, and so man, if this offense can continue to ride that momentum, that offensive momentum, and put together a complete football game where the offense is firing on all cylinders for all 4 quarters, and this generational defense is playing like this, bro, sky is the absolute limit.
Yeah, dude. I mean, if you just look, I mean, listen, there was overall, this fan base was not in a good spot over the last 2 weeks before this Alabama game.
We weren't in a good spot.
We were not in a good spot. We did not feel good about this team. But if you are objective about the situation, this defense has played well all season long. Yeah. It's at this point we're midway through the season. We're over midway through the season, 6-1. We're 7 games into the year. It's obvious this defense is actually legit. I mean, like, the secondary has answered the question time and time again, dude. Time and time again. And because Alabama struggled this year. That's a fact, okay? We knew coming into the game Alabama was struggling just as much as Tennessee, but it wasn't on the offensive side of the ball. It wasn't, dude. Offensively, Alabama has been fine all season long. They've been able to pass on everybody. They've been able to run on everybody. Not Tennessee. They could not do anything offensively, especially in the second half. Especially in the fourth quarter. Last 4 drives, I hate with this stat. We're kind of working backwards. We're kind of starting to end because we were happy about the end.
Yeah.
But last 4 drives, how many yards do you think Alabama got in those 4 drives? That's 4 offensive drives.
So I think I might have cheated because I think I've heard this stat. They got 3 total yards, didn't they?
3 yards in 4 drives. They had less yards than drives. That's insane. That is, and when you say,
that's incredible.
That's answering the bell, dude. Because, dude, one thing that pissed me off in the stadium. I'll talk about a lot of stuff that happened in the stadium. One thing that irritated me: people started lighting those cigars when it was 24-17 with 1:30. Alabama had the ball. I'm about to come up there and fight a mofo. Like, do not light that cigar until we see all zeros, dude.
100%, because they had time.
They had the time.
They had the time to go down and score a touchdown. And
exactly.
And what if they score a touchdown and go
for 2?
And DeBoer says, you know what, I'm going for all the marbles, and then they score 2 and we lose. Don't even get overtime.
Do what Napier did in the Florida game.
Exactly.
Go for 2 at the end of the ball game and win the game. I was irritated, and one of Kyle's friends kept talking about lighting the cigars, and that was even earlier. That was 21-17. I was like, with 5 minutes left, I'm like, you ain't a Vol fan, bro. You haven't watched these games because let's be honest. If you're being honest, okay, and the stadium was loud all night. Trust me, I'll get into that. But if you have been a Vol fan for a long period of time and you were honest with yourself, when Alabama had the ball with 1:30, what did you think was going to happen?
Oh, I knew. I was like, I'm sitting here begging and praying
that the defense makes a play, even though the defense has been so good,
right?
So good. It's nothing.
It's the BVS. It's the BVS.
Exactly.
It's the better Vols syndrome.
It's 100% the BVS, dude.
But your point is this defense has come through
exactly every time. It's insane, dude. So going back to the beginning, and we're jumping all around because it was such an electric game, dude.
Yeah.
Going back to the beginning of the game, okay, Alabama, I believe it was Alabama's second drive. It was Alabama's second drive, if I'm not mistaken. They drove it all the way down the field. And, dude, this has happened so many times this season where a team drives it down the field, and you're thinking, oh, damn, they're going to score. They're going to score.
Dude, I personally thought that I was like, oh, okay.
They're about to score this drive. Nope. They throw it up to the 17-year-old, and he got locked up. Down, dude. Jermon McCoy with one of the best interceptions, dude, I've seen of the season, dude.
Incredible.
Absurd play, man. Absurd play. I had no idea it was even a one-hander in the stadium. We just saw the pick start going crazy.
Yeah, y'all are going crazy, dude.
We were going nuts. So basically how it worked the entire game, we were standing on the bleachers the entire game. Standing up the entire game. And when they got that pick and Jamad started taking it, because we thought it was gone to the house.
Oh, yeah. It looked like he was going to go.
It looked like it was gone to the house, dude. There was dudes that fell behind us, started falling on Callie. Callie fell. It was nuts, dude. It was nuts.
Because everyone's just going haywire.
Everybody was going crazy, man.
Yeah.
It was just, and how many times have we seen that from this defense this year, dude? Oklahoma game. Oklahoma's got on the 1-yard line. What happens? Fumble. We recover. This game, throw it in the end zone. I mean, they just drove right down the field, and what happened? We got a pick in the end zone. I mean, these plays, they are saving touch. It happened in the Florida game. James Pierce in the Florida game, same thing. Sack fumble within the 5-yard line. Yeah. I mean, how many times has this defense come through in such important situations? We're talking about the difference of 7 points on the board, and dude, I mean, it was so massive, man. If he could have taken it back, it would have been nice because the offense didn't do crap with it. But, I mean, this defense has answered the bell time and time again, dude. And they did it again, dude. With 1:30 left, Bama couldn't get anything going. Like we said, 3 yards and 4 drives? That's insane.
And that's how you put a game away, and that's what you need. Now, going back to the first half, so the defense played a complete game, right? Because it's like they held Bama to 7 in the first half.
Yeah, and we'll take that all day.
We'll take that all day, and then like you said, last 4 drives, when you're trying to put the game away, you hold them to 3, right? Your offense is finally coming through for you. But in the first half, the defense played lights out, but man, the offense just yet again
3 games in a row. Excuse me,
shooting ourselves in the foot and just not coming through. And honestly, for a second, for a brief moment, when we stopped them on that first drive, and I believe that very first drive it
was 3 and out.
It was 3 and out. Okay,
yes.
So we got a 3 and out dominant defense, and then we start driving. And Dylan Sampson breaks off that big run. And then for the first time, and listen.
Hey, Sam gets a pass, bro.
Sam gets a pass. It was his first fumble ever.
Yes. And it was a great play by the defense. And he was just fine for extra yardage.
Yeah, as he always does.
Exactly.
And it looked for a second like, oh man, we were looking it was looking so easy, and then we fumble.
That's what I'm saying.
And then for the rest of the first half, penalties.
Yes.
Turnovers. 3 and it stalled again.
It did, man. And there's a theory. So this is a niche reference,
Oh,
but I'll explain it to you. So there's an NFL podcast I watch, and they have this theory called the exploding well theory. They have it about it was a specific year. Basically, the theory is this: when a beach whale is on the beach, eventually, like there's some chemical reaction in their stomach. Eventually, it explodes. Okay, and I compare that to this Tennessee offense, dude, because you have this beast in offense, which has so much talent. You can see the talent, dude. You can see the talent, and you can see, or you know Heupel's background. You know how good he's been on offense, and you saw how close they were. Like you said, driving the ball down the field on Alabama on the first drive. That's not a coincidence. That looked easy, and then we made a self-inflicted error. And that happened the whole game. We would drive down, get a holding penalty, or we drive down and Nico threw a pick. That happened the entire game. It's like, dude, eventually, this well's going to explode. Eventually, it has to. Something's got to give.
Yeah, law of averages.
Something has to give. The offense has been so abysmal, but has moved the ball so much that something's got to give. Something's got to happen. And it happened in the second half. Dude, we scored 24 in the second half. If you take 24 plus 24, that's 48, dude. So in that second half of that ball game, the offense was cooking. It was cooking. And really, it didn't start cooking until like midway through the third quarter. So we're talking about 1.5 quarters where we put up 24 points on Alabama. I mean, it was a really good 1.5 quarter for the offense. So yeah, dude, the Tennessee offense was the exploding whale, dude. It was a beached whale. It was dead in the water, and then boom, it exploded in the second half because it was due.
I would love for the offense to not be a dead whale to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they happened 3 straight games in the first half, no points.
3 straight first halves, no points. It's so strange, man.
It was odd. It was seriously odd at that point.
I think, let's talk about this real quick. I think a lot of it has been on Nico. Okay, his play has been bad, but we also have talked about this offensive line. It's been a lot on them as well, right? And a lot of these penalties are on this offensive line, holding and whatnot, and da-da-da. And so, yeah, these self-inflicted wounds are really holding the offense back.
Yes.
Did we see better offensive line play? I'll be honest, you were at the game, I was watching on TV, but I did not pay attention to Lance Hurd and if he was playing and where he was playing and all that good stuff. How many snaps he had. Or Campbell.
I believe overall the pass protection was a lot better. Mm-hmm. A lot better. Nico had way more time to throw. Now, run blocking in the first half was generally pretty bad. It got way better in the second half, and it's really been like that all season. I mean, it's encouraging that we can wear teams down, but it's discouraging that it's so inept in the first half. But it didn't feel real. Like, the offense was moving the ball in the first half. And I believe, Nico got knocked out in the first half, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Before halftime. Yeah.
So, I believe, if it wasn't, it was the early third quarter. But I believe it was in the first half. I don't know. I can't remember. But the point is that once he got knocked out, it was completely different. We had another drive where he drove down and got in the red zone and then just threw one of the worst balls I've ever seen. Sometimes they just got to tell him, dude, just throw the ball away. Yeah. Just throw the ball away. But he was better after that point outside of that one interception. I know that was a big deal because that was another drive where we just drove right down the field. It looked so easy. And then he just gets hit while he throws and throws a terrible interception. But he just got to throw those away, man. He just got to, because sometimes he just wants to do too much. And you don't have to be, and it was 1st and 10, man. It's just like, it's first down, bro.
Yeah.
Just throw it out. But outside of that, dude, he made some clutch plays down the stretch. That throw to Dante Thornton on the run was Nico's best throw in his career. It was by far his best throw. I mean, it was on, dude, he's rolling out on a rope, throws it on the run, and I mean, it's literally just perfect. Right in stride of Dante. It's like, dude, if you can just, it's about consistency, man.
Yeah, consistency.
It's
absolutely.
all about consistency because, dude, he has the ability. I mean, dude, that's one of those throws that actually applies to the old saying, how many dudes can make that throw? Because a lot of times it's like, okay, a lot of dudes can make that throw. But no, this is a kind of throw, that kind of athleticism, not a lot of dudes can do that. Not a lot of dudes can make that kind of throw. And I mean, that was massive. That's what broke the game open. And then the touchdown throw.
Of course, that touchdown to Brazel.
Exactly, to Brazel. It was beautiful, man. I mean, it was right where. And I was like, oh, dude, he has. Because I was watching in the stadium, as you know, and I was like, dude, he has a hole to run this. He should just run it. But no, dude, he just throws a beautiful ball in the end zone. He also had a clutch scramble, dude. I can't remember the situation. I think it was 3rd down. It might have been 3rd and 5. And the pocket started collapsing in him. And all year when the pocket collapses, he tries to roll out. This one time, he stepped up and scrambled and made such a clutch play. And I was like, dude, just step up more. Don't try to roll out, because when you try to roll out, that's when bad things happen. So, dude, Nico in the second half in particular was so clutch, made so many great plays. And you could just feel that he was playing better. And
more confidence, you know, and that's what I've been talking about. Is he wasn't showing confidence. He wouldn't hold on to the ball and things like that. And it's like, you know, and so I don't know if him getting knocked out and then
he said it helped him.
Well, and then Gaston Moore immediately throwing an interception. And I was like, you know what? Nico's not been playing well. Come on, Gaston.
Exactly.
Let's see what you got.
Immediately humbled every Vol fan that was thinking Nico wasn't playing well enough. Because I mean, Gaston immediately came in and just.
Granted, he was trying to make a play, okay, but still, it was terrible.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't good. And so, you know, maybe Nico seeing that is like, well, damn, you know, my team needs me. So
and we do.
And we do. We need him to play better.
How many times did we say earlier in the season, we have not seen Nico make the plays, and when the game's on the line? We hadn't seen that yet. We have not seen that. We were saying earlier in the year when we were dominating teams, we were like, oh man, is Nico going to be able to be that clutch player to make those clutch plays? Well, he didn't against Arkansas, and he really didn't against Florida. It was kind of everyone else making the plays, the defense and DSAMP. But, dude, he made the plays. We needed him to make the throws, and he did it this time. He really did it. I mean, like, we don't win this game without Nico. That's a fact.
So I will say that I think there's still some, you know, a little bit of, and I'll take some missed throws every so often, right? If he plays like he did in the second half, fine. There are still some, you know, like kind of accuracy, you know, issues, like
he missed some deep balls
because Hendon could make those throws, man,
consistently.
It
all comes down to consistency,
and that's what it is, consistency, right? And again, I don't know if it's that he's just not used to the, you know, more physical teams, and his receivers aren't getting down the field as fast, and so his timing's off. I don't know. But, you know, we do. He still has a lot to learn, and he has plenty of room to grow.
Yeah.
Brazel, honestly, like, you know, that throw, that touchdown throw, that was as much Brazel as it was Nico,
it was
right?
Such a great catch.
A great catch. And so this is not me trying to be a pessimist. This is just me being realistic that I still want to see more out of Nico. And
just put a complete game
just a complete game, a full 4 quarters. But I mean, with that being said, man, this defense, but then also Dylan Sampson yet again is just, Dylan Sampson didn't have to carry as much in this game. Finally, his receivers and his quarterback, helped him out a little bit, but he still carried so much. And I think it is an absolute travesty that he's not even, I get it, this Boise State running back, whatever.
He's different, man. Without this generational running back, in a different season, D-Samp would be getting more credit. It's just like he's literally up. When I say generational, it's the best running back since Barry Sanders. So it's like it's unfair to D-Samp because any other year we'd be talking about Sam.
I think he at least needs to be in the conversation. That's what makes me mad.
At least offensive SEC offensive player of the year.
Well, because like even as recently as Florida week, I was still seeing Heisman watch lists that had like Nico down in like the 4th or 5th tier, and I'm like, Nico is moved out. You need to have Samp at least where Nico is in that 4th and 5th. I'm not saying he is going to win or should win the Heisman. I'm saying to me it's disrespectful that the man's not in the freaking conversation.
He's a great player. Man.
He's really coming through for us.
Going back to what you were saying about Nico, about him having to grow. What's really awesome to see is that he has a good enough team around him right now that he can go through the lumps, okay? Right. And yes, we dropped that Arkansas game, and that could come back to bite us at some point. But in a game like this, where, dude, if you score 0 against Alabama, okay, think about this. Out of the last 50 years we've played Alabama, how many times did we win scoring 0 in the first half? Or how many times would we have won? Probably not a lot. But this time, the defense is so elite. And the offense, again, the exploding well, finally explode. That you can actually do it. You can actually win games where the other team could be more talented, and that's a question. But the other team could be more talented, but you have enough talent that, hey, you overcame so much adversity, man. So much adversity in this game. And again, Nico in particular, man. I mean, he got rattled, dude. I mean, he was really hurt. I thought for sure with how long he was on the field, I didn't think he was coming back in. And for him to come back in and play as well as he did, you knew he was feeling it, dude. Listen, these kids are on social media. They see things. He knows he's not been playing well.
Oh yeah.
And you put up another goose egg in the first half. People are rumbling and like, is this? Oh, he paid him $8 million? Is he the guy? And listen, it was
me fair included. I was.
It was fair questions. It was fair questions because he hadn't looked good, and we made the point that people keep talking about all this time he needs, but it wasn't. That's not a genuine thing to say because we before the season and during the season, the beginning parts of the season, we're talking about this kid being a first overall draft pick in 2 years' time. So it wasn't a genuine thing to say, oh, he just needs time. No, I don't think he's got that time. I think he has to grow up quickly, and he did in this game. That's the thing. Like, I wouldn't have anticipated him doing that against a team like Alabama, even though their defense has been struggling. But he did, man. He did.
Well, because he's the starter, right? Like, we can talk about time all we want, but the coaching staff has identified him as the best quarterback on the roster.
And has developed him for a year.
And he developed for a year, and they've identified him as the best quarterback on the roster, and he is the starter, and therefore what I expect is at least not bad football play, right? I'm not saying he's not going to continue to grow and that he's a redshirt freshman and he's going to continue to grow and get better. To your point, it's like if you're our starter, we don't have time for you to play bad football, and he was playing bad football. And finally, let's cross our fingers. It seems as though
it's a turning point.
A turning point in that second half of Alabama. Again, still not perfect. I'm firmly in the camp of it. Still wasn't perfect.
The whole game.
The whole game.
Yeah.
But it was. I mean, let's hope that this is the turning point. Because again, man, like I said at the top of the episode, if this team with this defense, because like you said, we've got formalities the rest of the season. Should be okay. Kentucky, Mississippi State, even Vanderbilt.
As ball fans, we never chalk it up.
I know. Vanderbilt is looking. Hey, listen. Mad respect to Vanderbilt.
They're a scrappy squad.
They're a scrappy squad this year.
They beat Bama, but I mean honestly, if we redo that game, they might be the favorite. I mean, who knows at this point? But
so we'll get into the Alabama disrespect later.
Definitely, trust me.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. So we've got Georgia's the one big game left, right? and obviously you can't sleep on anyone in SEC. But the point is if this team can put together everything, 4 quarters of the defense playing like they did, and this offense like the offense was in the second half.
It's one of the best
Alabama,
teams in the country.
It's without a doubt. It's not just a top 12 playoff team.
It's one of the best.
It's a top 4, Final 4 playoff team that can stand in there with your Oregons, your Ohio States, your Georgias, your Texas, your Miamis, whoever. We can stand in there with anyone if this offense can click like that for 4 quarters and continue that consistently.
Because obviously I'm biased. You're getting biased commentary right now, okay? I'm gonna be biased, but it really felt like Bama's offensive struggles were forced, and a lot of ours weren't. It really felt like that. Now, again, the forced fumble was nice on Desant, but the Nico interception, it's like, that's not a forced turnover in my opinion. That's a young quarterback trying to do too much, and the penalties. A lot of that's self-inflicted wounds, and to your point, if they can just clean up the football, they've got it. They've got what it takes to be great, and. Dude, and the defense, I have zero complaints. Now, in the second half, they started slowing down a little bit in the third quarter. But, dude, when you talk about those last 4 drives, that's legendary stuff, man. That's legendary stuff. And it felt like the intensity of the defense, they knew what this was about. They knew the importance of this football game. And they've really played like that all year. Particular guys on the defense, James Pierce has literally come into his own. He is dominating games at this point. He had 2 sacks, 9 pressures. He's been phenomenal. There was a very clear turning point for James Pierce in the season, and since that turning point, he has been the player we thought he was going to be. He's now working himself back into that top 5 NFL draft pick conversation with how special he has been. And then Jermon McCoy, man, I cannot say enough things about that guy. When we came into the season, we're questioning the secondary and their ceiling, and especially their floor, because we thought the floor was pretty low. What we didn't take into account is that one of our transfers was going to completely transform the whole unit. This guy, a guy has came in, has been a lockdown corner, and has been that elite, and has made that many plays. You just don't anticipate. You can't anticipate those kind of things. But when you hit on a transfer like that at such an important position like cornerback,
where we were so thin, and
exactly, we're so thin. But it kind of comes back to again our preseason analysis, where it's like you can look at it one of 2 ways. You can say, "Oh man, we lost all these starters. What are we gonna do?" Or you can look at it as those guys suck. Bye.
Bad. Can't get much.
Yeah.
It's like if you're at rock bottom, you can't go any lower.
That's
Can't
what I'm saying, and that is exactly how it's turned out through 7 games.
Yeah.
You have guys like Will Brooks, Ricky Gibson, Jermon McCoy, all guys who were not starting last year. They were not starters. Have come in and have been significant upgrades on last year's starters in the secondary.
Dude, and shout
out.
And
Boo Carter as well.
And Boo Carter's playing great as a freshman. Shout out to frickin' Will Brooks, man.
Oh,
what an absolute dog. The man is he's a walk-on. And he has played his way into that safety position, and is just playing good. He did, and obviously everyone knows the game cinching interception, which, like you said, to your point, people are lighting up cigars. It's like no, that game wasn't sealed until Will Brooks made that interception, and
beautiful play, by the way.
Beautiful and incredible play. And by the way, my BVS was so strong that I'm sitting here thinking about an Arkansas stumbled and fumbled.
Dude,
I'm like, please God, let this be the cleanest victory formation you've ever seen. But
that's so funny. We are messed up as small fans.
Psychologists might need to study it. It's not just that game-cinching interception. He was making great plays on that. He made a shoestring tackle against Jalen Milrow.
On 3rd and 1, he would have scored.
Jalen Milrow was gone. And Will Brooks made one of the greatest open-field shoestring tackles I've ever seen, and he saved a touchdown.
Let's be honest, dude. When you see a guy like Will Brooks, okay, there's a profile on a guy like that. Not as athletic, okay? Not as athletic. He's more of a film kind of guy. Okay, but then Milroe, all right, Milroe is very athletic. Okay, he is. Milroe's incredibly athletic, dude. He is one of the best guys in the country running the football. So you don't expect a guy like Will Brooks to make that play. But to be honest, dude, if you're being honest with me, you agree with that assessment. You just don't expect Will Brooks.
I don't question Will Brooks, man. I'm a Will Brooks believer.
Listen, I am too, bro. He's a phenomenal player, and again,
you're just saying he's like real. He's a real smart player. He's just really
exactly.
he makes,
he's a grinder.
He works hard.
He works hard.
He
sneaky athletic.
Sneaky athleticism.
But dude, seriously though, and like it really anyone on the defense could have made that play, and I'm like, dude, you do that against Jalen Milroe, he's got some burners, man.
Yeah.
When he turns it on, and like you said, that saved 7. That was a 7-point play because there was, and they clearly saw something on film because I don't know if what you saw happen was they basically faked like they were going up the middle and then he just ran it right off to the left and they saw something on which gotta clean that up because he saw something without Will Brooks making, like you said, one of the most beautiful open field touchdown saving tackles I've ever seen. And dude, I mean, he just again another guy that. When we were thinking about that secondary, we're like, oh, it's probably not good. I mean, even guys like Pate, I love Pate. He's like, oh, man, this Tennessee secondary could still be shaky. Let's see him against Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old, who they targeted 20 times and only got 70 yards. Dude, when you target someone 20 effing times, dude, that's 3.65 yards. Think about this, dude.
As a receiver.
Think about this, dude. If you gave the running back, 20 carries and he got 73 yards, oh my God, it was a terrible day running the ball. That's 3.65 yards per carry. That's horrible.
And that's ground game numbers.
And that's ground game numbers. They targeted the man 20 times. And it's, dude, yeah, he got 8 catches. You could say, oh, he got 8 catches for 73 yards. He got targeted 20 times.
Jermon McCoy put that 17-year-old
in his place.
Let's just say when you're a minor, you still got your mother and your father in the picture, and we saw who his father was on Saturday.
Exactly, dude.
So,
but I mean, I'm just saying, the secondary, people are like, oh, when is it going to break down? We thought it could be the Florida game.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Florida game. Thought it could be Alabama. It's not the Alabama. When is it going to happen? I guess never.
Well, and what's encouraging to me, too, is that, Josh Heupel, he continues to talk about good teams get better, right? Like great teams get better over the season, and there is still room for improvement, even for the secondary, even for the defensive line, right? There's room for improvement, and so if they continue to push that ceiling up, then again, it's going to be great. And so I hope they use the next 2 weeks. We got a bye week this week, so we hope they use the next 2 weeks to rest up, but also really, continue to work on those kind of fundamentals and then just be ready for Kentucky, man. It's we needed this after Florida. We felt like we lost against Florida, right? And I think part of that is just because we hate Florida so much.
And part of it's because we just lost to Arkansas.
We had just lost to Arkansas. And then, at least for me personally, I hate Florida so much that I want to
rub it in. We're better.
Rub it in, yeah.
Because to be honest, if we played them again, it'd probably be a 3-touchdown victory. It's just one of those things.
Exactly. So
the well hadn't exploded yet. It's just one of those things.
So it felt like a loss, right? But and this was still a close game. But it's a much better team. Alabama, and I think we're about to shift into talking about Alabama a little bit. Alabama fans were in shambles, right? Alabama's not a terrible team, but we're going to talk about some things, right? But anyway, I think this win was just, it's not just win in third Saturday in October. It's not just a playoff saving win. It's momentum.
Exactly. That's a good point. It is a season. Exactly. It was a lot like the 2022 Alabama win. It just gives you so much momentum the rest of the year. But before we get into some of the Bama stuff, just talk about the stadium and the atmosphere.
Yeah.
It was literally, dude, I'm telling you, man, it was by far the loudest experience I've ever been in. And, like, my ears were ringing most of the game. At some point, I thought I busted an eardrum. I'm serious, dude. It was that loud. Like, I've been to concerts on the floor. It was way louder than any concert I've ever been in. And I've been in England in some decently big games. It was completely different, dude. It was something like I've never experienced in my entire life. And it was an unbelievable experience overall. But I just couldn't believe. I mean, the decimals almost got to 130 at some point, dude. It was just absurd, and I thought my hands were gonna. I thought I was gonna start bleeding. I was clapping so damn much, and just trying to make as much noise as possible, dude. It was unreal. The environment. Listen. I haven't been to every stadium. I haven't. I want to go to some other places like Happy Valley or Death Valley or the Big House. Some of these electric stadiums. I would be willing to bet there's not a better place than Neyland Stadium. I would just put that on. I see it on TV. Yes, I'm not in person. I would be willing to bet that's the loudest a stadium has ever been, and maybe in the history of football. But Neyland Stadium is different, dude. It's such a huge factor in that game, dude.
Yeah.
One of I think a Bama player may have said this, dude. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it was an Alabama player said on that last drive, or the second to last drive, when they went for it on 4th and 22, they said part of the reason that they were taking so long to snap they couldn't get the calls. They just couldn't get the calls. They had no idea what was happening. The offense could not function.
You love it.
They couldn't function because of the noise.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons you get 3 yards and 4 drives. They could not get in calls. They couldn't get the protection right because they can't hear anything. It's unbelievable, man. It's such a factor, and that's why you see Josh Heupel. This is one of the most important stats I think coming out of this game. Josh Heupel is 17-1 in Neyland Stadium since 2022, dude. With the one loss being to number 1 Georgia, and I mean that's what you want to see. Protect your house, and yeah, we can talk about the road win. It's not the time for that. Let's be appreciative of 17-1 in our house.
Yeah.
We're protecting our house twice in a row against Alabama. And I guess we can talk about the storm fielding, or the field storming. So, in the stadium, and I wasn't there in 2022. I was watching it on TV. I would almost be willing to bet they were expecting it in 2022. They didn't say anything. They were like, okay, they're going to storm, like whatever. They were basically begging the fans not to storm. They were literally like, please do not storm the field. Do not storm. And I was like, okay, we're not going to storm. That people are listening. Apparently, what I heard online, which could be complete BS, apparently the recruits that were there on a visit stormed the field. They're like, man, dude, F great. That. Dude, we're here in Neyland. It's been electric the whole day, the whole game. I'm storming. And they started storming. Everybody started storming.
Well, because you got to think that those are high school kids, and so they want to be a part of some kind of experience exactly. Like that. I mean, that's what kind of who wouldn't want to be, if you're 17, 18-year-old, who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
I don't know who was in attendance or where the other places they've been, but that was the best environment they've ever been 100%. In, and they wanted the full experience because they've seen the clips online of 2022. They probably watched the ball game, and they wanted that experience, and I don't blame them. But dude, so we had our cigars. We came prepared. We had a cigar. We were confident going into the game. Bought cigars pregame. Brought them into the stadium. Well, my wife was so concerned with getting her cigar lit that we almost got trampled, bro. So her friends start going down on the field, okay, leaving us behind. I was starting to go, and I was starting to get anxious. I won't lie. I thought I was about to get trampled by 102,000 people. And then I had to start going backwards. I'm like, where's my damn wife? So I get a hold of her. I'm like, we are not storming this field right now. There is no way. Because at the time, dude, we were pretty low. But already, and within like probably 2 minutes, there was no room on the field. And there was probably 20 rows of people at least in front of us. I'm like, there's no room. How would we possibly get on the field right now? And if we did get on the field, I would either get trampled and die or die of a heart attack. Because it's literally, there was, at some point, dude, the field was so covered in orange and people that I couldn't see any grass. There was no grass left. It was just people.
Just shoulder to
and
shoulder.
I'm like, that's a nightmare. So me and Callie literally just finally made our way up the stairs. Had to literally basically run over people just to get up the stairs. And we just watched it. We sat there, smoked our cigars, watched the storm or the field storming. And it was an awesome experience, man. And I know some people are upset that we did it, but it's like,
so
who cares? We beat Bama.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring a bit of a boomer perspective real quick, okay? Historical guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, like at the end of the day, people are celebrating, so it's not like I'm angry or upset about it, right? Of course I want to celebrate an Alabama win. However, with that being said, 2022, you're breaking a 15-year drought, okay? Absolutely. I mean, freaking burn the city down. Don't do that. But I get it. Storm the field, tear down the goalposts, 2022, breaking a 15-year streak. But now...
It's expected accomplishment, baby.
It's back to business, brother. It's back to business. This is a rivalry, and this is what these young fans don't understand, especially the students at UT right now, is heck, I mean, if they're 18, 19 years old, they, were barely even walking and talking the last time we beat Alabama. So they, except for 2022.
Yeah, with the exception.
With the exception of 2022. And so my point is they don't understand that this Alabama-Tennessee rivalry is not the past 16 years. This Tennessee-Alabama third Saturday in October is over 100 years.
Yeah.
And I saw some Alabama fans too being absolutely disrespectful to, we don't lose to Tennessee. It's like,
we'll get into that.
You're so short-sighted. You don't understand that you've been spoiled by the greatest coach of all time for the past 16 years. And so anyway, so my point is act like you've been there, right? Like now moving forward, it's like, hey, look. And I'm not saying that when I say we expect to be here, I don't mean like, Alabama's a pushover team, we're going to win every year. What I mean is like the standard at Tennessee is to beat
and be competitive with Alabama.
Be competitive with Alabama.
Not to be literally just lose to them for 17 straight years.
Exactly. And tearing down the field goal posts and stuff like that, as great of a tradition as that would be, it's like, hey man, dude, this is expected.
So I don't know if you knew this.
Rivalry is back to business.
I don't know if you've heard this or saw it online or something, but they're trying to take the field goal posts out of the stadium again. They tore them down again. As you know, last time we threw them in the river, which I understand that. Those are cursed field goal posts. We hadn't won in 17 years. Get those things out of here, man. We need some new ones in. It's a new era. And I'm assuming they probably haven't replaced it since they replaced them in 2022. I don't know if they replace them every year or what. Well, they tore them down again, and they're trying to take them out of the stadium, and they're like, do not take the field goal posts out of the stadium. They got on the intercom, and they're like, do not take them out of the stadium for your own safety. Knoxville police is going to stop you from taking these field goal posts out of the stadium. So when me and Callie actually eventually went down to the field because we were trying to get the hell out of there and find her friends. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. I actually was like right beside the field goal posts that Knoxville police was like surrounding it, like making sure people didn't take it out of the stadium, dude. It was, I don't know why. Well, maybe it is like legitimately a safety precaution. It took forever in 2022 to actually get the streets of Knoxville cleared.
Yeah.
But yeah, they literally would not let them take it out, which is interesting. Because it could, it might, I don't know. Like you said, it's kind of a lame tradition. It's also a $100,000 tradition because they get fined every time.
I was just about to say, more so than a safety thing, it was probably Danny White. Don't want to have to pay $100,000 again.
They really didn't want us on the field that time, but it happened. Hopefully we beat them again in 2026.
Hopefully we beat them in Bryant Denny, and hope like you said, continue to beat them in Neyland. And so my point is like, hey. Like, this is what the rivalry is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So we don't need to storm the field. We're going to celebrate. We're going to smoke those cigars all night long. But we don't need to storm the field year in and year out because this is what this third Saturday in October is about. It's not about the past 15 years. And I get it. A lot of y'all are young. But, man, when I was young, we broke off a big streak against Alabama, and it's like this rivalry's been streaky, and it happens. Unfortunately, they got the greatest coach of all time.
And I think this is a good transition. Dude.
It is a perfect transition because, man, has that fan base been utterly spoiled by having the greatest of all time football coach.
So,
and I'm talking about all football coaches.
We've been pretty nice to Alabama in this episode because, listen, we have something to play for this season. We have playoff aspiration. We have national championship. They're dead in the water. They don't have that anymore. Okay, they are no longer in the playoff race. Okay, so that's why we've been nice to them because it's like bullying at that point, right? You don't bully somebody. Okay, we're better than you. Okay, it's pretty obvious. Heupel's just better, and he's beaten the greatest coach of all time, and now Kalen DeBozo. So we're better. I'm not going to bully you, but we still hate Alabama, okay? We hate. I don't know if y'all heard the "F you Bama" chants throughout the entire game on television. I don't know if they can blur that out, but I'm just glad Greg McElroy's dumbass got to hear it all game. That was the best thing about going to the game. It was one of the best experiences of my life. The field storming, everything, watching it, smoking the cigars, it was amazing. The best part was I didn't have to listen to Greg McElroy's dumbass for 3.5 hours.
He's such a homer, man.
Complete idiot, dude. That guy. The fact that they picked him for that game was pathetic. I mean, he absolutely can't stand Tennessee. I'm sure a lot of Vols fans know this, but he called Tony Vitello a classless guy. Man, F you, dude. You're a complete moron, and I'm so happy that you got to see us beat Bama's ass in person in Knoxville, while all game we're chanting F you, Bama, dude. I'm so God, I can't stand that guy.
I know, dude. He's such a homer, and it showed throughout his cast of the game, and of course ESPN did that because ESPN are Bama homers, and they also hate Tennessee. So you know what? Fine, whatever. Water under the bridge. No, actually, not.
It's not water under the bridge.
It's not water under the bridge.
Yeah.
I hate them. But my point is, I guess we won. So
we got the last laugh.
Kiss my butt, you know.
Yeah.
But man, dude, like
talk about those entitled fans, dude.
So
some of the idiots you're seeing on.
So here's the deal. And we're gonna get to. I need to check my notes, but I think here soon we've got a new section of the podcast coming up.
Or specifically for this episode.
Specifically for this episode, but man, the Alabama fan. And listen, I did my best to be a graceful winner, right? Like I will say I did make one disrespectful comment. The Bama fans online were. And here's
they already want to fire the coach, which is so predictable. So damn predictable.
They want to fire the coach. I know it's predictable. They want to fire the coach, but they also want to sit their quarterback. They're in a bad spot. They're in shambles.
Dude, they thought their quarterback was going to Heisman 2 weeks ago, and they want to sit him. What an idiot fan base, dude. God, what an idiot.
Listen. They're in a bad place, and here's the deal. I get it because if we had lost, I would have been in a bad place. So I get that. I sympathize with that. But here's the deal. Okay. But these fans have been so. Oh, and I did again. I tried to be respectful. I did let one stray off. They were in such shambles that a couple people commented, "We're a basketball school now," and I reminded them that Tennessee is better than them in that as well.
Owns them in basketball as well.
And of course, we're not even talking about baseball, right? Because they're not even in the conversation. So, they're in shambles, right? But. And I feel for them because I would be in that position too.
I don't feel for them.
Well, no, at all. The reasonable ones I do. Here's who I don't feel for. Here's who I don't feel for is these fans who have been spoiled. You had in Nick Saban, literally not the greatest Alabama coach of all time, not the greatest college football coach of all time. Honestly, maybe not even the greatest football coach of all time.
Maybe the greatest coach in history of ever.
You might have had the greatest coach of any sport all time.
And we can admit that.
And we can admit that. And it shows how spoiled you have been. Because they thought that Kalen DeBoer was going to well, first of all, we're not even going to spend much time on.
You know how vindicating this is for me? You have no idea how vindicating this is. Because I've been saying this for 6 months.
I know you have,
and I don't have the platform or the Josh Pates. We're running a small operation over here, as y'all can see. 28 subs. Shout out to the 2 new subs. It's a pretty small operation. I've been saying this shit for 6 months. I've been saying this, dude. The greatest coaches ever don't grow on trees. And let me just speak directly to the idiot inbred Alabama fan base, okay? Because we've had some decent analysis so far this podcast. This is the emotional part of the podcast, okay? This is the fan coming out of me. This is the part of me that hates Alabama with a damn passion, okay?
Don't give a damn about the whole state.
Alabama is not Alabama, and they do not have the aura of Alabama football because of Alabama. They're not special because there's anything special about the university or the state or the talent in the state. There's nothing special about that university other than Paul Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. That is the only reason that you are looked at as as the top of the top, tier 1 of college football. There is no other reason. And as Blake said, how big of a gap was there between Nick Saban and Paul Bear? I'll let you know. It was 30 years, okay? They don't grow on trees, and you just happen to run into them. And let me tell you this as well, you idiot Alabama fans. Had Nick Saban not decided to go to the NFL and fail miserably in the NFL, he would have stayed at LSU. And let me tell you something. We would be talking about LSU as the greatest football team in college football history. We would not be talking about Alabama. Because it didn't matter. It didn't matter about Alabama. It mattered where Nick Saban was. And had Nick Saban stayed at LSU, he would have won 7 championships there. That's a fact. It had nothing to do with your state or your university. In 10 years' time, nobody will give a shit. And you have the top recruiting class right now. We'll see.
Not for long.
We'll see.
And here's the deal. Here's about these fans who we're not even going to spend much. We don't even have to spend much time on the Alabama fans who wanted Nick Saban to go.
Oh, there was I don't think there was any that wanted it, but there was definitely a portion especially after that Georgia game, that were like, "Oh, dude, look at it! We got a young guy in there who can relate to the young." You idiots, dude.
Well, there were some Alabama fans who were ready to move on from Nick Saban.
Yes,
and to their credit, it's like the game had significantly changed, right? And so Nick Saban wasn't going to, like, he had built a snowball that snowball was no longer as significant because of NIL and the transfer portal, right?
Dude, when that stuff was implemented, he was significantly less dominant.
Correct, because even the playing field a lot.
Exactly.
And so to their credit, yes, the game was different, and therefore Nick Saban was going to be different. But there were some fans who were ready to move. But there are significantly more fans who thought Kalen DeBoer was going to come in and have the same level of success. And this is what I told Bama fans online. I was like, look, you need to get some perspective.
Yeah.
We went through the absolute ringer, emotional, battered Vol syndrome, emotional sports trauma.
I got a stat for that, by the way.
For 16, 17 years, because our university thought that they could move on from a championship-winning coach and do better. And Philip Fulmer is I love Philip Fulmer.
Nowhere close to Nick Saban.
Nowhere close to Nick Saban. And so the university and a lot of fans thought we could do better. And we come to find out it's not as easy as snapping your fingers and you all of a sudden have the greatest coach in the country again, even though, because we have a storied program as well. Right? We have a storied program, and by that point...
Dude, it was neck and freaking neck at that point with Alabama and Tennessee, and that's a fact. Before Saban got there, dude,
correct.
We're looking at... That was
You're talking about all time.
I'm talking about after Philip Fulmer had left. That's right when Nick Saban got hired at
correct.
Alabama. I mean, we're talking about it was neck and neck as far as history in that program.
Correct.
Paul Bear Bryant did slightly more than Neyland did, but it wasn't much more.
Correct. And so we found out that we have a story program. We have the facilities, we have the fan base, and we found out for 17 years that it wasn't that easy to just get a generational coach. And these Alabama fans need to understand that. And Kalen DeBoer might end up being a decent coach. I'm not saying he's going to be, now, granted, you can't lose to Alabama, you can't lose to Vanderbilt and be a decent coach.
No.
You can't.
That makes you a bad coach.
That makes you a bad coach. But my point is that he might even end up being a decent coach, but these Alabama fans don't understand that there will never be dominance like there was under Nick Saban in their lifetime.
It's done.
In their lifetime. You might win more national championships. You might have great coaches. You might have great seasons, whatever. But the dynasty, there will never, in your lifetime,
on the level Nick Saban was.
There will it won't,
because Alabama's not special, dude. That's the thing. Alabama's not special. And to speak to what we went through, what Tennessee fans went through, and I don't think Alabama fans will go through this. What Kalen DeBoer inherited was so much better than what our coaches inherited after Phil Fulmer left. But, dude, the coaches after Fulmer, so that's Kiffin, that's Dooley, that's Pruitt, Butch, all the bums, okay? They went 1-23 versus Florida and Alabama. 1-23, and Josh Heupel. And listen, there was a lot of, after that Arkansas game especially, there was a lot of chatter around Josh Heupel. It just has to stop, man. Listen, I get he's not a perfect coach, but he is 4-4 versus Florida and Alabama. And you can say Florida's been down during that time. Dude, there's been some years that those bad coaches I just talked about, that I just mentioned, there were some really bad Florida teams during their time that we lost.
And we had good talent in some of the years.
We had,
especially
under Butch. He recruited very well. So, 1-23, bro. Do you have... That I just thought about, because I knew, because listen, I became a Vol fan very early on in my life, okay? I was a diehard Tennessee fan by the time I was 10 years old, and I went through absolute heartbreak over and over and over, but when I see a stat like 1-23 versus your two biggest rivals, I'm just flabbergasted. I'm like, we had it worse than I thought. We had it worse than I thought.
That's why I'm saying psychologists need to study this battered ball syndrome, because it's bad. And to your point earlier about Alabama and the history of the rivalry, that 1-23 is largely why, actually, it is why Florida and Alabama are ahead in the series. Because
definitely.
Because it's a part of history now.
Exactly.
So it is the case, and it sucks. But as Tennessee fans, it's because before this point of this crazy, like out of nowhere, historically bad decade and a half, that was such an anomaly. We were right there with these teams. We were ahead of some of the, Georgia was not even a rival because we were, so we were such a more storied program than Georgia, and so. All of this to say is that these Alabama fans need to have some perspective and humble themselves. 100%. Because it's not, first of all, again, in your lifetime, there will never be another Nick Saban.
Just accept that. And
But you can't just snap your fingers and get a great coach. It's not that easy.
And to your point about Tennessee's historically bad run and how it was such an anomaly, Josh Heupel has proven that already, dude. And Heupel is a good coach, okay? We know he's a good coach at this point, and we need to stop questioning him. He has bad road losses, yes, but he's a good coach. Now, I think he still has some answers as an elite coach. I don't know if he's there yet. Right. He's working his way up. He's still a young coach. But Heupel proved that Tennessee was just ready to, again, back to the exploding well as a program. It was a massive exploding well, dude, because, dude, what he went through when he started here with the scholarship reduction and just the lack of the roster as a whole, the lack of talent, the investigation, everything. And it took him 2 years to win 11 games. In his second season, he wins 11 games with great players, legends like Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt, but some subpar talent. Yeah. Some subpar talent with a lack of depth.
Especially depth, exactly.
Exactly. So, dude, he just proved that the program was right. It was you just needed the right guy. That's all you needed. You needed the right guy. Once you get the right guy in there, all of a sudden, you're 4-4 versus Florida and Alabama instead of 1-23.
Exactly. And to your point, again, Josh Heupel is a great coach, but he's not like, Kirby Smart. I wouldn't say he's on Kirby
Not yet.
Smart. He's not yet. He's not on Kirby Smart's level yet. He's not obviously
until he gets a championship.
Exactly. Obviously not on Nick Saban's level, not on Dabo Swinney's level, right? And so he's like this. If you call that tier 1, he's like this tier 2 coach, and we're right back in the playoff there. We're in the playoff conversation, and we're right back in there in these rivalries. And so to your point, it's like it's. Especially these young fans, they don't understand that Tennessee is...
These damn youngins
don't understand that Tennessee is a program, an elite program of the country. Okay?
Yeah,
it is a top 10 program, if not top 7, if not top 5, that might be my bias, program in the country that had this historical anomaly of a bad run. And because with a great coach, not even an elite coach,
and that's subject to change.
And that's subject to change. But we're right back in there in these rivalries, and that's where we need to be, man.
Exactly.
That's where we need to be. Now, so we've talked about these spoiled Alabama fans. Let's see here. I believe I don't have my notes on me, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe we have created a new section for this episode, just for this episode, and I'm gonna call it Austin's ass chewing.
Austin's ass chewing.
Austin's got some ass chewing to do. I think you would like to speaking of Kalen DeBoer, and what people expected of him as a coach. Let me preface this with, like, for instance, I saw just a week ago, I saw an article saying that Kalen DeBoer was on the watch list. Now it was
after the Vanderbilt loss.
After the Vanderbilt loss. So, and this was by Bleacher Report. They're incompetent, right? But they had him on
give him a pass. They're incompetent.
They had him on a watch list for Coach of the Year, the Bear Bryant Award. The Bear Bryant Award. Okay. So that's, let me preface, that's what we're talking about is the media had a certain perception of Kalen DeBoer, and I think you've got some receipts and some things to address the news media.
It's going to be some build-up. I got to build this up first. So you talk about the receipts, because a lot of people, there's outrage without it actually ever happening. This actually happened, okay? I actually have the receipts that I promised.
Yeah.
If we won this game, I was going to come with my receipts. And I have no way of proving that this was my viewpoint before the season, because it's one thing in hindsight to be like, look, I told you so. I actually had these conversations with people. Now, I don't have it on camera. We weren't doing Vol Talk at the time, which is unfortunate. During the off season, if we had the show, I would have said it. But I said this on several occasions, okay? Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. That's a fact. He's a good coach. He took Washington to the national championship, and you can say, wow, he took Washington to the national championship. Dude, I'm a fan of college football and NFL. More college, but I love the NFL as well. I watched the NFL draft. They had 10 players drafted from Washington. Okay, you can say, well, he developed the talent. Okay, maybe. Or you can say, he had 10 draft picks, and that's why they made a national championship. They had a top 10 quarterback taken in the draft on his football team. They had a top 10 receiver on the football team. Okay, that's a lot of talent. You did good at Washington. You had a lot of talent. So I never questioned, was he a good coach? My problem was, Blake, when I started seeing articles, and I'm like, okay, Kirby Smart won. That's fair. Kalen DeBoer, 2? Since when did we elevate him to number 2? When did that happen? Because he wasn't even Alabama's first choice. He was their 4th choice. If he's the 2nd best coach in the country, and trust me, I'm about to have my receipts. I'm not making this up. This was ESPN, okay, that ranked him number 2 behind Kirby Smart, not SEC, the entire country, okay.
When Alabama didn't even think he was the number 2 country.
How could they? They offered Steve Sarkisian. They offered Dan Lanning. They offered Mike Norvell. Not a good coach, but Dan Lanning and Steve Sarkisian are good coaches. They offered them first, and they said no. They said, we like where we're at. We don't want to fill the shoes of Nick Saban, the greatest coach of all time. And why would I leave Texas when I have more resources and let's be honest, probably a more passionate fan base. Sorry, entitled dumbass Alabama fans. Why would I leave Texas? Why? To go coach in Tuscaloosa, Alabama? Are you kidding me? So how could he be the 2nd best coach in the country if he was the 4th choice? That makes no sense to me.
Zero.
It makes no sense. And what happened, Blake, was, and they're gonna say, well, look what he did at Washington. Washington wasn't a good program. I already told you why I never bought into that. I never bought into that argument because he had so much talent, dude. And he played. And like I said, I never said he was a bad coach. I never even questioned his recruiting. A lot of people question his recruiting. I didn't know what he was going to be as a recruiter because I knew once he got to Alabama, it was going to be a lot easier. But listen. It made no sense to me because if we were being genuine, if the team that people say, oh, look at this team, it's the best team in college football, they got all these resources, whatever, why would he be their 4th choice? That makes no sense. And so the poll, I found multiple. Okay, I found one guy from On3 that ranked him 3rd in preseason coaching poll, 3rd. As 3rd best coach in the country. And we're talking about above guys with national championships like Dabo Swinney. And you can say Dabo Swinney, it was a 2024 poll. Well, Dabo Swinney's in the playoff conversation. Kalen DeBoer is not. Okay, Kalen DeBoer is not. Kalen DeBoer
with more talent.
Kalen DeBoer in Alabama are eliminated, and I watched a Pate video. I'm not going to call out Josh Pate because he's one of the best guys in the media as far as college football is concerned. But he said, he questioned why people are calling the Tennessee Alabama game a elimination game. That was disingenuous, Pate. You know Alabama's done. They have not been good. They've sucked. Okay, ever since that first half of the Georgia game, they suck. They suck. I mean, if I was being a pessimistic Vol fan, I'd be like, is this even a good win? Because they suck. They're not good. And I'm not even, listen, Kalen, like you said, Kalen DeBoer could still be a good coach. My problem is when you have him behind Kirby Smart. You have him behind a guy who has 2 national championships. You have him above Steve Sarkisian. You have him above Dan Lanning. You have him above Dabo Swinney. You have him above all these. You have him above Josh Heupel. Let's start having that conversation because Kalen DeBoer has more talent. If you look at the composite, he's doing less with more talent than Josh Heupel's doing. So why are we not having that conversation? You had him ahead of Brian Kelly. Okay, Brian Kelly's had his struggles, but guess who's in the playoff conversation? LSU. Guess who's not? Alabama. Okay, so. That was disingenuous, man, because what happened is that they saw a good coach. They saw a good coach that did some good things in Washington, and he went to Alabama, and they wanted to be the smart guys in the media who were like, oh, we predict it because he's going into Alabama. He's a good coach. He has all this talent. He has all these resources. He's going to do good.
It's a foregone conclusion.
Exactly. It was a foregone conclusion, but what they didn't realize was what we already talked about earlier. It has nothing to do with Alabama. It has to do with Nick Saban. And that's what they didn't take into account. They didn't think about that. And that's how you're sitting here as Alabama fans wanting to fire your first year coach because you're complete idiots. You had no idea. You actually had wool over your eyes, and now it's being lifted because other coaches do lose to Vanderbilt. Other coaches do lose to Tennessee. That does happen. Nick Saban did.
In fact, 100 years of Alabama football. Exactly. Most of their coaches have lost to Tennessee. It was only Nick Saban, and actually Nick Saban also finally lost to Tennessee too. And
exactly. And a lot of people would agree the biggest sports company in the world is ESPN. Okay, they're the biggest broadcaster of sports. When you think of a sports channel, you think of ESPN. Well, they were the outlet that had it number 2. And I was like, okay, I remember somebody having him number 2. Okay, I knew I wasn't making that up. And you all can find this. I could show you all the screenshot. Just go look up ESPN Coach Rankings 2024, and you will find the preseason list where Kalen DeBoer is second. And I assumed when I saw that list, it was going to be one media member. Because I'm like, one dumbass, it's fine. Wrong. Their 10 highest level college football reporters voted on the poll, and dude, this is crazy. I'm actually gonna lose it, dude. These people have jobs and they need to resign. They voted on the poll. They voted him second. He had the second most points behind Kirby Smart, of course. Okay, because anyway, but they voted him second, and that in itself is a travesty. Part of the stat of that poll was Kalen DeBoer was the only other coach on all 10 ballots. Wow. Outside of Kirby Smart. The only other coach, not Dabo Swinney, who has 2 national championships, not Steve Sarkisian, who just led his team to the playoffs and has Texas cooking, not Dan Lanning, okay, not Brian Kelly, okay, coaches that have actually accomplished things in college football. They didn't have those guys on all 10 ballots, but they had Kalen DeBoer. How disingenuous is that, man? That's the most disingenuous ranking I've ever seen. In my life, dude. It was unbelievable. I saw that and I was like, is this real? That was the 10 top college football reporters for ESPN. So it's 10 guys, man. It's literally their 10 best it's their 10 dudes. It's their 10 guys it's not just one idiot. I'm not just making this up. Go look at the article. It's there, man. And Kalen DeBoer can still be a good coach at Alabama. But let me tell you, he will never be because they're going to fire him because they have unrealistic expectations because their fans are idiots.
And this is exactly what we talked about, where it's like this expectation, this spoiled fan base, this expectation that someone's going to come in and immediately fill Nick Saban's shoes, and it's just not going to. You had the greatest coach in sports
history
of all time.
Those don't grow on trees.
In fact, there may never be. And obviously sometime in the future. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and make a bold statement. It's possible. It is possible that human civilization dissolves before another Nick Saban comes along.
Correct.
And so,
just looking at some receipts.
So, it's just this idea, and man, with this media, what you're talking about is like, I don't know, it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? It's like, what came first? Do they think that because Kalen DeBoer is whatever, this coach, and he's going into Alabama, that he's going to be able to ride those coattails of Nick Saban? Or did they think, or was it because of an Alabama effect where they're like, all on Alabama's knob, and they want to, ESPN's ESPN, and so they're like, oh, this is Alabama, so we got to rank them. Because let's put it this way, too. These media companies, they're out to make money. And Alabama does have a lot of fans, including bandwagon fans. And so, when there's a lot of people who are invested in Alabama football because of the greatest coach of all time, and you've got a lot of people on your bandwagon, you got a lot of people watching TV for Alabama, and that's what makes the money. That's what gets the clicks. Yeah. And so, honestly, it's either Alabama bias or him going, or Nick Saban bias, and them thinking that he's going to be able to keep doing what Nick Saban was doing. But it's foolish, man. It's absolutely, and again,
foolish.
They could win out. But the point is you lost to Alabama, or you lost to Vanderbilt, man.
Exactly.
You lost to Vanderbilt. You almost.
And
lost
they're not going to win out.
They're not going to win out, and they almost lost to Shane Beamer.
Here's the thing: if they win out and go on, make a playoff run, and win a national championship, I'll apologize. I'll apologize to Kalen DeBoer. But if you've watched Alabama football, you can't just click out of this, man. This team's not good. It's not good. And answer this question, Blake. With essentially the same roster plus a 17-year-old kid who's good at football, okay? That's the same roster Nick Saban had last year. So what you're telling me is Bama fans thought Kalen DeBoer, okay, minus Nick Saban, plus Kalen DeBoer with the same roster was going to be better. You're out of your effing mind, dude. That makes no sense. And that's what comes down to you idiot fans, dude. It's an idiot fan base. And listen, there's not too many teams I hate more than Alabama. Actually, you know what? There's no more teams than I hate more than Alabama. They are number one on my list. And your fans are dumb, and the media is as dumb, somehow. So I didn't think you could get dumber than the Alabama fan base. But somehow, some way, ESPN's top college football report, 10 different guys voted on the list, man. That's pathetic.
It just goes to show, bro, that, if you're, how do you get in sports media? It's like, okay, you're semi-attractive and you somehow make a big break at some point, and it's like, these people in the media, dude, they don't know, like, they don't know, bro. They don't, you look especially like the Heisman voters, but especially people at ESPN, man, they're just Joe Schmoes. And all of a sudden they're given this pedestal to be like, oh, well, we're the end all be all of sports knowledge, and it's like you've ranked Kalen DeBoer with no evidence outside of taking Washington to one national title run
with so
and
much
losing
talent.
With so much talent that he's going to come in and be the second best coach in the country.
And you could really break it down more. Like, you could say, well, what if Texas completed the comeback against Washington? Is all of a sudden your rankings change? So your rankings change based on 2 minutes of one football game. How stupid would that be? That's just dumb. And also, thinking about it, man, maybe the Alabama fans deserve a little grace, because maybe some of them read ESPN, man, and maybe some of them watched all the shows with people get these platforms. Maybe they were buying into, man, they were led astray, bro. Okay, Kalen DeBoer is not Nick Saban. It's never gonna happen, and I've been saying it for months. And listen, dude, he could be a good coach, but it's not gonna be at the Alabama Crimson Tide, because y'all gonna run him out of time before he can establish what he wants to establish. So yeah,
they need to. The Alabama fan base needs to realize that, especially the Tennessee rivalry is a rivalry again, and you need to get used to the fact that we are going to beat you many times. It's not Nick Saban. Yeah, and respect to Nick Saban, because I don't know if you heard him on College Game Day.
Oh yeah, I did.
Nick Saban got on there.
He knew what this meant.
He knew. This is the third Saturday in October. We're not talking about one of the most storied rivalries in the SEC. We're talking about one of the most storied rivalries in college football.
It's top 5 in college football.
Top 5 in college football. The history, people are so short-sighted. They don't understand the history. Nick Saban understood the history. And Nick Saban understood. He came in and he said, hey, this game is actually more important than any other rivalry for Alabama. It's more important than LSU. It's more important than Auburn. The Tennessee game. And Alabama fans, especially the young ones, are now going to realize how true the sage Nick Saban, how true those words from him are.
Yeah.
Because the rivalry is a rivalry again. It is what it is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And so you need to understand that you don't get to win every year. You're not going to win every year. And certainly not with Kalen DeBoer, because now he's 0-1 against Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we own Kalen DeBoer. And listen, I don't even hate Kalen DeBoer, man. I have no feelings towards the guy. And he is a good coach. He's just not a top 5 coach in college football, because that was never the case. Yeah. I mean, it was never the case. Yeah. They just made it up, and they were hedging their bets, because you don't want to put out a preseason coaching ranking and not put the Alabama coach in there.
Yeah,
because Alabama could be good. Well, they're not good. Okay, the roster wasn't. The roster is at one of its lowest points it's ever been under the Nick Saban era. It was last year. He's just such a good coach. He elevated the roster. But yeah, man. I mean, listen, it was a great win for Tennessee. Absolutely phenomenal win for us. And I mean, dude, like, kind of going back to what we're saying. I mean, we were talking a couple weeks ago. The playoffs are done. Like, we're worried we're even going to make the playoffs. Playoffs are back on the table for us. That's incredible. So that's the number one story. That's why we talked about our game for so long and everything. Yeah. But I had to address it, man. I had to talk about the idiot fans and the idiot media, dude. Like I say, it has nothing to do with the coach. The coach is probably a good guy, but I mean, you can't rank him. You can't rank him number 2.
Yeah, you just can't. You can't make that up and expect to be taken seriously.
Exactly.
And again, bro, it's they're trying to make money. They're trying to get clicks. But Josh Heupel showed them what was up. And
like Heupel needs more credit, dude.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, you got to give Heupel credit. But at the end of the day, like you said, we're back in. It wasn't, for all intents and purposes. It was very much an elimination game. This game, and so we are still in the hunt, right?
Yes.
We've got to take care of business. We got to keep taking care of business. We got 2 weeks to rest and continue to get better. You can't drop one to these teams that we're expected to beat. We did that against Arkansas, right? Imagine if if the offense had been clicking, we'd taken care of business like we should have against Arkansas. Arkansas is not a terrible team, but we should have beat them. There's no doubt about it. We're a better team, right? And so imagine if we're undefeated. We're top 3.
Yeah, definitely.
Top
we
3,
actually probably would be number 3. Or maybe even number 2.
Yeah, probably 3. And so, but coulda, woulda, shoulda. At the end of the day, we're in the hunt, and so that's what's important. We're in the playoff hunt. Got to keep playing and getting better. Offense has got to keep clicking. And man, but if we can, I'm telling you, right now, if the offense sputters more, we're gonna have problems. But if the offense has turned the page,
oh, dude,
you book it right here on this podcast. This is a dangerous team.
A very dangerous team, because the defense has been consistent all season long. Because at some point you can say, oh, they're bend up but don't break. They're giving up all these yards. Something has to give at some point. That's just the DNA of the defense. Sometimes they will give up a long drive, but they find a way to make a play. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, you can see the talent on this team, man. You saw the talent in the receiving core. The offensive line was better, even though they were playing a shitty defense. But offensive line was better. And dude, if Nico can continue to develop and get better, like you said, dude, this team it's back in the conversation of this is one of the most dangerous teams in college football. And dude, Kentucky better get right, dude. I'm just saying they better get right, because they just got the brakes beat off of them by Florida. They look bad, dude. And you're coming into Neyland, it might be a rough night for the Wildcats.
Well, Kentucky's always been our little brother. We'll welcome them back. We'll go ahead and give them a whooping and send them on their way. But we'll get into that with the
pregame
Kentucky preview. So, listen, folks, we appreciate y'all joining us. Probably been a pretty long. I don't even know how long this episode's been.
Probably 2 hours.
But it was necessary.
It was. Third Saturday in October.
Third Saturday in October. You got to give it the respect and the love it deserves. So thank y'all. If you've stuck around, thank you for joining us for this episode. We're gonna cook up something for y'all for the bye week. We'll probably just do one episode between now and the Kentucky preview, something like that. But the schedule is, Mondays at 10 a.m., Thursdays at 10 a.m. Go ahead and subscribe Turn on the notification bell so you can know when we drop that video. We're probably going to do maybe some, another Alabama kind of deep dive into some players, maybe some awards. Look at the midseason, kind of where we're at midseason. We'll get some more chatter for y'all because that's what we do. We just yap.
Talk more Vol football, baby.
We just yap about Vol football. But man, what a great win! Third Saturday in October, Tennessee Volunteers beat the Alabama Crimson Tide. What a great game. We appreciate y'all for joining us, and we will see y'all on that next episode. See you guys.
GBO.
Go